Hello and welcome to Premodern Slivers versus PARFAIT. But before we get into the gameplay, please do let me know what you think about these. It really helps the videos and I really appreciate your feedback. I'm still new to making gameplay, so do let me know if there's anything you want me to add, anything you want me to change, if I need to speed up the videos. And if you'd like to see the deck tech for the Slivers deck, please do check my channel. I've got loads of deck techs on there. In this matchup, I'm going to be looking to disrupt the opponent with those duresses while making my creatures unkillable with a combination of Crystalline Sliver, making them untargetable, and buffing their toughness to get around Pyroclasm effects. We don't know our opponent's exact list, but we can assume it's something close to this. He'll be looking to gain an obscene amount of life and reoccur Pyroclasm effects, and then use that obscene life total to completely lock us out of the game with Zer's Weirding that will stop us drawing cards. So in game one, I'm on the play and I just start with a city and pass. Now my opponent is quite a well-known player. I won't say who it is because it's the internet, maybe he wants to remain anonymous. But as soon as I see the turn 1 plains into land tax, I know exactly what he's playing. He's fairly well known for playing this deck. Luckily, I have a lair land that lets me return mine, meaning I can play a beta and not activate that land tax. So this is awesome. Unfortunately, he has the turn 2 oath, so yeah, this is going to be quite difficult. And this is where I just make a huge misplay. So I actually know he's on PARFAIT because I know this opponent quite well and he's known for this deck. I just completely forget what Shard Phoenix does because I'm not used to playing Slivers or even creatures with flying. I just kind of remember Shard Phoenix as Pyroclasm, just deal 2 to each creature. So I really mess up here. I should have played a land and played the Flying Slither, which will give all of my creatures flying. That would totally get around Shard Phoenix's 2 damage, meaning then I can just unload my hand and it would have just totally changed the game. So yeah, unfortunately I just forgot and I just don't do that. So yeah, unfortunately he has the Phoenix. And now he can kill my Muscle Slither, which gives +1 to all my creatures. And that's one of my best cards, actually. So it's a real shame. But I still think this video is a super good video. It really shows what the PARFAIT deck wants to do. It's just a perfect example of how PARFAIT wants to play the games. So yeah, here you can see, again, I'm just thinking, I still don't realize that my Flying Slither, giving all my guys flying, will get around Shard Phoenix. I should have just, if I'd realized I'd made a mistake, I could have just played it, had him kill my green one, and then at least I can start dumping stuff out. But yeah, unfortunately I don't realize that yet. It's always good to check, because if you don't play against a card that often, or if you're used to playing a deck like I am, where Shard Phoenix always kills all of the creatures, like I play a lot of goblins, so yeah, unfortunately this is my bad, so sorry guys. And you can really see the just the engine of the PARFAIT deck, just absolutely crazy. And yeah, here we go, getting a Mox. So now our opponent has access to mana as well as fixing. And then using the Sylvan Library, so there's just so many effects going on here. So you can see how against a traditional aggro deck, this Phoenix combo would just completely lock many of the decks out. Being able to recur a Pyroclasm every turn is super strong. Here we also have Scroll Rack, which allows him to turn those lands into new cards. He can put them back on top, draw new cards, then in upkeep shuffle a deck again to shuffle those lands away. So I think this is the point where I ask him just to double check what Shard Phoenix does. I'm not 100% sure though, but hopefully this is the turn where I play my blue sliver. So yeah, it looks like it's coming. Am I going to do it? Yeah, here we go. So I take one, I play the blue sliver, and yeah. So you can just see how much better this would have been if I'd done that on turn 2. I would have been able to play my whole hand and, you know, potentially got a lot of buffs in there. So now we're going to see the other aspect of the Parfait deck. I believe Parfait means perfection or perfect in French. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, now we're going to see the other creature that he can get, which is super awesome and super strong. So do let me know if you want me to cut these shuffling parts out in the future. I have cut a few out in this video, as well as the parts where I take ages to think. That blue card is the card that he uses to lock us out of the game. This white creature gains him 1 life for each card in his graveyard. So you can see he's counting his graveyard there. Loads of life gain. So I believe he gained 25 here. Maybe it was more. That was 25. So against most aggro decks, this would just be absolutely backbreaking. Luckily, I do actually have ways out of this because, you know, with a combination of my slivers, I can actually just lock his deck out of interacting with me, and then I can just turn after turn just generate more and more stuff and eventually overpower his deck. But this combination of artifacts and enchantments is super powerful. It's going to be very, very hard for me to get back in it here. So yeah, all of that was before his draw step. Plays another Mox into Ivory Tower, so he's just gaining crazy amounts of life. And while I say I technically can get out of this, you know, the chance is super unlikely because, you know, I do have a plow to kill his creature, which stops his life gain in that regards. But, you know, he's drawing effectively 7 cards a turn. It's only a matter of time until he gets the Zer's Weirding and just completely locks me out. And, you know, he has Ivory Tower, so he's just gaining crazy amounts of life every turn. So, yeah, we're talking about that here. I'm sort of explaining, well, I do technically have a way out here, but it just involves such a ludicrous combination of stuff. I would need Crystalline Sliver to make my stuff untargetable, as well as a bunch of Pump Slivers. Here, he has removal for the flying guy, so at this point, it just adds another piece that I need to lock him out, and I'm just pretty much 100% dead. So I passed the turn. I left this footage in to just kind of show you the power of Parfait. But yeah, this is absolutely game over. And I just decided I don't want to keep playing because it's just a waste of time to, you know, for such a small corner case, I'm not prepared to just potentially waste all of that time. For sideboarding, I bring in 3 Ray of Revelation, an absolutely amazing card against his deck, and also 3 Cabal Therapies, which of course are good against any control, combo, or prison deck. The Ray is just going to be super crucial as it can take out 2 of his enchantments for each one that I draw, so I'm really looking to get those. So I side out all 4 bolts. They're essentially a dead card in this matchup as he's gaining so much life and they don't really do anything to his creatures. I also take out 1 plow and 1 acidic sliver. Plow is actually good in this matchup if he's bringing in lots of phantom shobas, but if I'm not sure about that, then I definitely don't want to draw more than 1, so that's why I take 1 out. Acidic sliver, it's just a little bit slow, so that's why I took out 1 of those. So starting off with a plated sliver here. For those that don't know, this is a 1/1 that gives all slivers +1 toughness. So it's effectively a 1/2. And actually it's surprisingly a lot better than you think it is. So I'm thinking for a while, slivers just has so many options, and with all the different colors of mana and the lands, it really does sometimes take a bit of thinking to figure out what you want to do. So yeah, I play a Lair and the Flying Sliver, just attack him for 1. So opponent just gaining it back there, and Forest and Pass. So here I feel fairly confident. You know, I've just drawn a green source to play that Muscle Sliver, and now I can attack in. I'm also immune to Pyroclasm now, as all of my creatures are getting +1/+2, so they're all 2/3s, so that's a super nice thing I've got going for me. It would take some combination of Shard Phoenix plus swords or Pyroclasm plus swords, so I feel fairly safe here. You know, opponent has the Oath, but luckily I have the best sideboard card imaginable in Ray of Revelation, so I just instantly kill that. And then another plated sliver, so all my guys are 2/4s now. So yeah, now even swords plus pyroclasm won't do it. And you can really see how these slivers, they just incrementally get better and better and better. And duress here. So as my opponent had no idea what's in my deck, you know, it is a 5-color deck and essentially I could be playing anything. This really worked to our advantage as he kept in cards that are absolutely dead. So that seal there is completely dead against us, but our opponent doesn't know that because, you know, potentially in a 5-color deck, he might definitely need that. Here, our opponent's drawn some very, very bad cards in terms of the Acroma, which, you know, now I've seen that, I will bring in the extra plow, and the Phoenix. So, you know, also a second copy of Scroll Rack, not ideal. Our opponent's hand here is really, really bad. I feel super confident. He uses the Scroll Rack and, you know, there's nothing really that's going to get him out of this. He would need a plow on the Muscle Slither, but again, you know, that's not going to take out my other stuff. I have exactly lethal next turn, so it's pretty much plow and white source or he's dead. So we talk about it. I say how big my creatures are. You know, he sees I've got lethal and he concedes. And yeah, as I mentioned before, I did bring in the 4th plow here since I've seen the Acroma. The mana base of Slithers is awful, so I show my opponent, look, my 7-card hand is amazing, but because of my mana base, I have to shuffle it back. I do end up mulling to 5 here, which is a little bit rough, but luckily my 5-card hand is actually quite good. But my opponent has, you know, the exact start he wants with a turn 1 land tax. Luckily, I have the turn 1 duress. You know, fortunately, he didn't have the turn 1 Oath, although I suppose it wouldn't make too much difference. Here, his hand is really, really good. The Agravian Find lets him bring back the Oath if I choose to discard it. I think about this for a really long time, and, you know, Pyroclasm is a unique card that he can't get back, but I just think Oath is so much stronger than Pyroclasm that, you know, that's definitely the one I want to take. And as I have a Ray of Revelation in my hand, I just think I can overpower his sideboard stuff, you know. So yeah, I just feel pretty comfortable taking the Oath here. And again, opponent's left in a dead card against us because, you know, that's just the power of Slithers. He has no idea what we're playing, and potentially we could be playing stuff that he needs to kill with that. And so here I cut some shuffling out. Do let me know what you think about that. I personally think it makes the videos more enjoyable to watch, but if you'd prefer to watch someone shuffle, or, you know, sometimes I spend ages thinking about what to do, then I can leave it in. But unless a lot of people say that they really don't like me cutting it out, then, you know, I'm probably going to keep cutting those parts out. So here, I just straight away kill his land tax. It's obviously just such a good card, and the engine of his deck needs to die straight away. And as I said, you know, my 5-card hand is very, very good with the duress and the Ray of Revelation. And Ray being so good in this matchup, it's sort of like I actually had a 6-card hand because of the flashback. So here, opponent instantly casts Oath. I could kill it straight away and play a creature, but I don't really see the point in that because he has the Pyroclasm to kill my creature anyway. So I think it's better that I just play the long game, as potentially he has a lot of enchantments that I might want to kill. We saw he plays main deck Engineered Plagues, and we definitely know there's more coming in from the sideboard. So I just pass the turn, and that actually really, really pays off, as we'll see in a second. So yeah, there comes Oath number 2. So, you know, now I feel really good that I didn't just waste that Ray. Ideally, what I want to do is I want to just dump a whole load of creatures onto the board that can get around the Pyroclasm in some way, or wait for some disruption that can take it out of his hand. So yeah, really I'm in no rush here. I do fear the creatures that can potentially come out of his deck, Phantom Neshoba or a Chroma would be especially annoying. I'm pretty sure that he doesn't have Phantom Neshoba after the last game, but I'm not 100% certain. And yeah, Oath number 3. So here I'm really happy that I just didn't use that Ray. Again, just pretty content to just play draw go. And so we play draw go for a little bit, just a few turns pass, and then I draw a super useful card, Cabal Therapy. So I already know I want to take that Pyroclasm, so that's awesome. But more importantly, it lets me see his hand, and I see his hand is really bad. Again, he's been really unlucky here and drawn that Chroma. So yeah, I feel very confident at this point. I spend a long time thinking about which sliver to use to sacrifice to flash back the therapy, because I definitely want to get rid of that Engineered Plague. So I did actually cut some of this out, just all the thinking and back and forth. So Crystalline Sliver, now our opponent is really not going to kill any of our stuff. Especially now I've given it flying, so the Shard Phoenix, it's just not going to do anything. So our opponent has a 1-turn clock to draw exactly Pyroclasm. And I think, as we've seen most of his deck already, I think he only has 1. So I don't think he actually can draw a Pyroclasm. Oh, actually no, I'm mistaken, because he has so many Oaths. He can Oath multiple times to shuffle everything back. So yeah, here the Blessing is shuffling everything back, so he definitely can still draw Pyroclasm. So yeah, here I didn't cut the shuffling. Again, please do let me know what you think about this. Yeah, he drew his card. So I think if there was a Pyroclasm, he would have instantly cast it. He cast Duress. I do have a Duressable card, so I figure I may as well play it, just to make him sack the Phoenix to do nothing. You know, that gives me a clear attack next turn, which is nice. So the reason I kept saying he has exactly 1 turn is because I actually have 2 Muscle Slithers here. So yeah, you couldn't properly see my hand actually when he cast the Duress. So yeah, apologies for that. So now my creatures are completely immune from all the removal in his deck, and I feel super confident. There's no combination of cards that he can draw now that would get him out of this, unless he has multiple Pyroclasms. And we know he didn't draw one last turn because he would have just cast it. And you know, he can only draw 1 card a turn, so it's definitely going to be at least 2 turns. And the chance of drawing 2 Pyroclasms in a row is obviously extremely small. Here we actually see his entire deck. So I could have asked him how many he's playing. I believe actually he could have played Engineered Plague plus Pyroclasm. That would also get him out of it. But again, you know, it's going to take 2 turns. And actually, I still have the Ray of Revelation, I think. Or maybe I killed a land tax with it earlier. So there we go, Phoenix again. So now I'm super confident about this because, you know, Phoenix is the only creature in his deck. Our opponent's been super unlucky here. And, you know, really just drawing those creatures, it's just so unlucky. Because if he hadn't drawn those, you know, he would be having those out like every turn, just absolutely destroying us. He'd be gaining obscene amounts of life every turn. Although I suppose you could make the argument that I maybe wouldn't have played creatures until I've drawn into more copies of Ray of Revelation. So here all my creatures are 3/3s. This is an absolute easy attack. opponent decides to just block the biggest one, which is a 4/4, and then take 9. Oops, I just knocked my life total there. So at this point, with what our opponent has in hand, it's going to be almost impossible for them to win. I actually think they would need, yeah, Pyroclasm and Engineered Plague would be the only combination that can do it. But of course, because I have the bounce slither, I can just bounce all my stuff. That's also maybe why I shouldn't have played the second one. Just got a bit greedy there. The mana base of slithers is very, very painful. It's a real downside. And so opponent gets the Phoenix. We know it's the only creature left in his deck, and we've seen his entire deck. He draws for turn and just, yeah, doesn't have the combination he needs. So that's GG's. So there was a super fun game, and opponent did get very, very unlucky there. But, you know, pleasure to play. So 2-1 to Slivers, and thank you for watching. See you next time.